It ain't much, but it's honest work. All right, so I've been at this for a while now, I guess. I don't know exactly. But it hasn't been all that long, I suppose. I don't know, a couple hours or something. And a couple things that I have noticed. First of all, some pro tips for you. First of all, while there are many different rails that go many different directions, all of the switches, or I should say all of the gates, as it were, always line up with each other. So no matter where the rails are coming from or going to, they at least will always be in alignment, which means that you can actually keep track of them by row. And as soon as I realized that, I began to put together an Excel spreadsheet, which maps out the rows and the gates that are together. So you've got, row 1 would be your switches, the switches themselves. So there's your row 1. Your row 2 is longer than the number of switches because you can have multiple switches per rail. Rails can have multiple outputs. So this is row 2. Row 3 is significantly smaller than row 2. And then row 4, where am I? Row 4 is super small. And then from there, row 5, we have a couple of rows of 2 switches, and then we get down to a couple of rows of 1 switch, and then we're done. So that's one important thing that you can keep in mind while you're doing this. The second thing that you can keep in mind is I have discovered, upon mapping out these switches, that there are some switches which must be in one configuration or another. So there are XOR gates in here, as we saw in the last video. There's XOR gates are a thing, I guess is what I'm saying. And obviously with a XOR gate, if you're going to have inputs, then you could only have one or the other, otherwise it's off. Same thing with the AND gates. Actually, the AND gates is where I started. I started turning on switches to make sure that AND gates were activated, which doesn't necessarily mean that they all should be, right? Because you can put an AND gate in, but expect the output to be a low signal. But under the assumption that that would be a devious trick, and why would anybody bother to do that?
You sit on a throne of lies.
I started by reverse engineering the AND gates and then moved on to the XOR gates. And as a result, I have learned that you don't actually have to brute force the whole thing. Because if you just do a little bit of reverse engineering, you determine essentially that half of all of the inputs are an easily discoverable static configuration, which means that you're not brute forcing 32 bits, you're brute forcing 16 bits, which is still a lot, but significantly more manageable than 32. I'm not going to reveal the code that I use to brute force those 16 bits. I will explain how I did it when I get there, but I'm not going to reveal that code. But what I will share with you on this video are the bits that are essentially static. The process of reverse engineering has led me to believe that that essentially every other switch has to either be on or off in order for this whole thing to work out in the end. So essentially 1, 3, and all of the odd numbered switches all the way down to 31, they have to be in this configuration. They have to either be on or off for this to work at all. So essentially this gives you half of the code. So what I'm going to do now is write up a packet injection tool in my TCP proxy to send packets to randomize those 16 bits. How many possible passwords are we talking about now? 16 switches, so 2 possible states on or off, 16 switches, and that's only 6,536 possible combinations, way, way less than the 4 billion we calculated with 32 switches. So just remember, when you're dealing with such things, that the growth is exponential, right? So we have severely reduced the amount of work that must be done to brute force this thing by doing a little bit of work to determine what states are static in our code. Now, how am I going to inject packets to influence these switches? Well, during my original run last video, I had Wireshark running in the background. And when I was done, I went back to check what happened between the server and the client as I was manipulating those switches. And I did find out that there is, in fact, an opcode for activate logic gate. It's prefixed by 3031 in this case. And so highlighting that here, it's by stage and gate number. So this shows stage 1, number 1, me manipulating that gate. So essentially the packet that I need to send, and I haven't experimented with this, so I'm not entirely sure how this is going to go, but just based on my intuition, I suppose, and what we already know of the protocol, probably what I will need to do is send out the client to server packet, and most likely the one that we get back from the server will be legitimate at that point. I'll just send the location packet with it if need be. I'm going to test it without sending it, and if it turns out that there is some kind of position validation to make sure that you're standing next to the switch when it happens, then I'll just throw in the same as I did for the egg hunt quest. I'll just throw the update location packet in there so that I'm teleporting to all of the switches when I activate them. It shouldn't be too much of a problem. Opcode here is just like all the other opcodes. Then we've got our next byte, which seems to be some kind of a signifier. After that, follow that up with a null byte. Okay, then the next set here. So this is I don't know what that is. It's just maybe padding or something. All right. So after the null byte, we get this sort of string here of some fashion, which is very similar in the first 3 stages. And if we convert that from hex to ASCII, we can actually see that like the other packets that we've seen, it actually sends the name. And so that first string, for example, converts to stage 1, then stage 2, stage 3, and so on, except for the last one, which does look different. So if we convert that, so we got final S, so that's not everything here. Got to grab the whole thing. We get final stage, so that's the name, which leaves only these last few bytes here, 1, 2, 3, 4, these last 4 bytes that actually equate to the switch configuration, just as it does for the other ones up here. So what could this possibly signify? Well, this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32. 4 bytes is 32 bits. So basically that last 4 bytes there at the end is actually what encodes the configuration of the switches. So what switches are on or off is entirely dependent on what this last packet, the last 4 bytes of the packet you send, amount to being. So what I then did is I essentially took my proxy and I created a script that would loop through just running, different combinations of switches in order to brute force the password. But of course, we're talking 32 bits. That would take a very, very long time and possibly not even be achievable within the time frame we have for the semester, let alone our own lifetimes. But after going back and mapping out the logic gates and following the flow, I found that there were certain switches that had to be in a certain configuration in order for there to be any hope of a solution at all, because of the AND gates and the XOR gates and all of that. So certain ones would be exclusive, and so one must be on or off, or certain ones had to be combined, so they had to be on. And what I found out is that you can actually very easily, but just by going through the first few rows, determine the static state of about half of those switches. So 0, 1, 1. So every other switch essentially has a static state, right? So 1 has to be off, 3 has to be on, 5 has to be on. And that reduces the number of possible brute force combinations from 4 billion down to only 65,000, which is a much more manageable problem. So I wrote into my script that would run through different iterations of possible combinations, taking into account the static configurations that we see here for every other switch, and then just let it run. So it iterated through all of those, and eventually solution time. With what I know from reverse engineering it, and from what I'm able to see from the packets from these smaller rooms, number one, I should be able to generate packets with the 3031 prefix to inject with our TCP proxy to brute force a solution. I don't know how long it's going to take to try. Could be a couple minutes, could be a couple hours, not sure. But let's write it up, get back in the game, and get it started, and see if we can watch the magic happen. Okay, so let's get out of here. Okay, we are back. I've got my proxy up. I've added 2 commands to it. First, a command to test the theory that is behind this entire thing. Every time you start up the game, when you log out, if you're in Fort Blocks, it kicks you to that hallway we were just in. That's where I started in. And all the doors are closed, meaning you have to solve the puzzles all over again, which, I mean, obviously is not a big deal because, you already know the solutions after the first time you solve them. But in order to test whether or not the whole packet injection idea will even work to begin with, I took the packets out of that Wireshark PCAP that we took when I solved the puzzles the first time. I grabbed the packet that is sent on a successful solve, and I put those into my script so that when I enter the command into my proxy, it should send those packets, and if this will work, it should open the doors for us. So one less thing to worry about. All right, so now if this works, when I enter open blocks, I think is what I set it to, into my proxy, it should open all of these doors. So let's give it a try. Open blocks. Okay, it didn't seem to work. Fixed up the script. Let's give it another try. Simple mistake, as is always the case. Open blocks. Okay. Okay, let's try that again. Blocks. Okay. Okay. Okay, so no. Okay. Got the 3031 packet and the position packet now combined directly from the PCAP, so all I'm doing now is replaying the full thing. Alright, that worked. So you do need the position packet. It's the only way this works. You need to have both. Alright, ready to test out our new and improved open blocks injection command, and then start I guess we'll see if my brute forcing command is working. If not, I assume my guess is I'm going to have to go back and make some revisions. I just took my best guess based upon the information I had, and I wasn't particularly precise or concerned with being precise. So let's start out with this. Open blocks. Okay, that seemed to work. That's the first one. I'm waiting for the next one to come through. I got a sleep 8 on these, so okay, that one seemed to work too. Door's already open for me, so I don't have my speed hack on, so I'm walking fairly slow. Okay, that was the third one. We still haven't crashed, so and it did work. Okay, good. And the fourth one, still no crash. So it is possible to do injection to auto-magically manipulate these gates, which means that it can be done for the final room. It's just a question of how much. It's just a question of what is needed here. I'm going to need the 3031 packet that's going to be randomized for brute forcing, but how am I going to match up position packets if I have to do that? How am I going to match up position packets with randomly generated numbers? I'd have to map out the name of each switch and the position of each switch. Well, let's try it and see if this doesn't work. We're just going to get a DC just like we got with the first failures of the last injection. So let's try it. I believe the command is final blocks. So it should be final blocks. Oh, it's generating them very fast. All right, this time I have a solution that I feel is doomed to fail, but I'm going to try it anyway. I'm going to try sending the gate packets from client to server, which is a method I know can work, but I'm going to try sending them without position packets. I don't know. Maybe the server is only validating positions for the first 4 challenges and not the last. So I don't have high hopes for this one, but nothing ventured, nothing gained, right? Oh, it's actually doing something. I can actually see it's working, and it's not validating my position. It's just doing it. It's just trying different combinations. Fantastic. It's not super speedy because I have a 2-second timer, but it is changing positions. This is working. If I can speed this up without forcing a DC, this doesn't look quite right though, because it should be every other is set. I must not have crafted the packet right. It is working. I can do this client to server. I just need to get the right bits randomly generated. I need to do this faster, honestly. Oh, hey, looky here. At some point we got it. Don't know exactly at what point. I'm gonna have to go back to the footage to check and see, but yeah, we got it at some point. But unfortunately, because we didn't really have any way of checking to see when we succeeded, I didn't bother to even look into that. The door is closed. The chest is open, but the door is closed. But that's okay. We already got a solution for that. I'll just ghost hack my way right on through here. There we go. Loot that chest. What do we get? The heap spray, flag of the block, shotgun ammo, and 12,750 pwn coins. We sure did do it. Let's get the hell out of here. Oh my god. I am going to have to go back to the footage to see exactly how long that took, but oh boy. That was something. Okay, the heap spray. It's our shotgun. Let's throw that let's replace our AK with that, huh? See what we got. Oh yeah. We gotta kill something with it. You know we do. Let's get a rat. Come here, ratty. Alright. It kills rats dead. Nice. Oh. Does have quite a spray, doesn't it? Well, all right. Well, we got it. We did it. We did it, and we got it. So both of the things that I was hoping is... Oh, shoot. Well. Okay, then. I guess I should probably turn my proxy back off. Look at me go. There we go. Stopped by the geometry. Well, can I overcome it? My lifeless avatar just following a trajectory set prior to disconnect. Oh well, it's fine. We got it. We got the flag, which means we are so close to done. The next video, I'm going to complete the rest of the objectives in order to get the overachiever flag, and that will essentially complete all of our objectives here for this semester. But I'm not done yet. This allows me to essentially focus more on everybody else and offer personal assistance, but also to go back and explore alternate means. There's a number of quests that I completed this semester, but I really wanted to find a better, different way of doing it. So I guess we'll have a chance to go and do that. Develop maybe some additional cheats, look at some more of the code, try some things I've never tried before. All right, next time we're going to grab that overachiever flag in just one quick video, and then after that we will be back again with some alternate solutions or some additional chicanery here of some kind. So until then, take care, have a nice day, and we will see you next time.